All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, HBAR. I think actually Cardano, I didn't list that one, and MATIC here. So just taking a look at Bitcoin, right? Still, I took off all the range, information, everything, because we're going to just kind of push it out here, live to see, because I'm going to kind of go over what the majority are looking at. And, and this has kind of been something where, even recently, this area right here is just a really great example of this, right? When we kind of date this back a bit before this dump, of course. But when we were looking at this inverse head and shoulders is a good example. This is what, the majority, everywhere you went, this is what everybody was looking at and seeing. This had a measured move of about $57,000 or $58,000, right? I'm bringing this up before we obviously had this pullback here. But what everybody was looking for was that breakout. Obviously, if it did break the neckline of this, that would have been actually confirmation, even from a range perspective as well. For that reason, we would have been breaking out of the range we've been in since this time frame began in January 5th. Right, so it kind of like overlaps some of these patterns into the levels we're looking at, and just throw on this range here, right? So, So at the time, even still, we're in the same exact range even now, almost 2 months later. But what we were doing was we were coming into the top of the range right here, right? You're having this head or the shoulder, you had this huge head, and then at the time we were coming over here building out this right shoulder, every single person was looking for this to continue higher. Now, had we actually broke this range high, which would have essentially been the neckline at the time, and reclaimed that on a closing basis, as you can see, we only had wicked above it previously. This would have been a pretty valid thing, that had double the confluence here, right? You had a massive inverse head and shoulders. You were breaking out of the range. Essentially, from there, you'd be looking to re-enter your next range anyhow. And that would have been, something to consider at the time. The other thing to consider at the time was what you would want to look for is if you did catch a rejection at this area, what would be anticipated after that? Well, essentially, when you're rotating through these ranges here, if you get rejected at the range high, you have to imagine you're coming back down towards the range low, at least your point of control for one. But you essentially would be cycling back down towards the range low. From there, until one of these two is conclusively broken, that's kind of the idea at hand, right? So fast forward this now to today, right? We had that break. All right, we're going to kind of zoom this back out a little bit now. Got the TikTok situation settled up over here. We had the break of the range finally, and what was that major target that once again, all credit to Magic Internet Money really for putting the group on this one. But this was a major area that we were looking for several months. And once again, not knowing that, it was just going to completely reject and rotate this range once again, but you had the signs in front of you as we were not reclaiming this, meaning we were not breaking above this area. We pull it up here. It's the yearly key level. All right. You can flip back through all of my last 2 months of TikToks posted here, a bunch of YouTube videos. Magic Internet Money especially has been talking about this since since December since he's joined our group essentially. But this was our area, right, where we did not reclaim, we did not flip. This is on a 4-hour time frame as we speak. So you see how we didn't have any candle closures up here. Got the rejection, came back, possible retest of the range high, lower high right here was that signal that we were going to go lower. At the time, what we also did during this little window here, when we shot up from this weekend time frame right here, we also left a couple of levels in this region between the range high and the point of control. We had an NPOC, which has obviously been met. Not this one, actually. That's the latest one. This one right here. We had the two NPOCs. You had two, a monthly and a quarterly key level. So about 4 untapped levels that were left in this region. So that was something to kind of consider that we were coming back down to retest at the time. Another thing to consider once you broke back into this range, right? Now we broke back into the range. So you had your deviation right here, similar to these deviations over here, right? Broke back into the range. What do we do? Run it to the range high. Broke back into the range down here. What do? We run it down to the range low. So that's, we were nowhere that we haven't been since basically January 5th over the last few weeks. So definitely been chopping a lot of people up, probably been very frustrating for anybody holding, obviously. And not having that sort of idea set or that plan, I guess, in place at some of these key levels here. So while everybody now has the massive bear flag on their mind, right? We're going to go ahead and we'll kick these off, take a look at that. I brought up that the inverse head and shoulders to kind of showcase this idea too, right? So, looking at this as that major. I got to pull this up a little bit regardless. I don't know if everybody's looking at it from the wicks. I guess you could be seeing that we're like coming down, hugging it. Some I'm starting to see are like kind of canceling out these wick areas down here. If you go to a daily, it's a little bit clearer to see. Regardless, I think everybody's looking at this as we're breaking down out of this bear flag. So now you got such super low targets in play, and that's something once again just kind of like lining these up with the ranges. It could be in play for sure. Some lower targets. I don't necessarily know about 13K and some of those really low ones there. But we've been looking even for 31.1, 32 obviously is in play still. And then you got the possible 28, 29, 27 region, which is the golden pocket from the overall, Rona dump all the way up to the 69K high. Will we get there? That's the question. And many, many, many are really, really anticipating this. So aside from this possible pattern in play right here, right? Let's take a look at the range once again. So we have all right, we'll leave it like that. So this is one thing I don't think many are looking for, paying attention to, right? So once again, we came into the range low, right? We're going to take off this bear flag at the moment and just kind of pay, level by level once again. What else was this little region right here as well? I'm going to go ahead and turn off this range low, right? Scroll it up from the 33K low there. All right, this was also our golden pocket, right? So our essentially that, perfect retrace down to that area right there. We've gotten a bounce from it so far, something to kind of monitor here. And this is essentially, an area where, you got to decide for yourself on how your risk management is going to be, because yes, we can always go lower, but you're at support. So that's the case. The de-risking area was definitely up in these areas here. This region, of the chart down in this, window here is definitely the area where you'd want to probably consider putting on some risk. So it just really depends on what that means for you individually, right? But taking all that aside, get the golden pocket from this entire move, right? From all the way to the low to the high, getting a bounce out of that for now. And just kind of paying attention for this range once again. So as far as everybody else is talking about downside, right, which I'll give the downside to, because it's not that it's not possible, and it definitely is in play here. We're going to look at this on the daily time frame, and it's the same basically little window that we've been talking about for quite a while. We have a couple of doomsday levels down below us. And realistically, when we get below this level right here, these daily candles, you break and hope if you close a daily candle below this region right here, to me, that would signify that we're probably going to go lower. We're at least probably going to come over here and take out these recent lows, right? All the way back down towards about 31, 32K. Will we go down to 27, 26? Who knows, right? We'll have to reevaluate once we get there. But that is the near term, kind of kill switch, so to speak, right? If we close a daily candle below here, you can see how relevant this has been. This is the daily time frame now. You have not closed a daily below this level since almost going on 2 months. So closing a daily down there would be the case, right, to start looking lower. And until that is, that condition, so to speak, is met, I wouldn't be looking for that at the moment. You really do have to be considering that so far we've rotated this range as a whole once again. And you are catching support down here at the range low. This was the golden pocket as well, right? So in theory, you got a natural target back up here at about $42,000. You've got your range high that comes into play once again. And in the middle there, we've got a 2-year key level, which once again, we've talked about multiple, pretty much what we're running into right now. So, kind of had that back test off it last night, finally dropped down, not only hit that range low, like I said, did come through for the golden pocket. Let's see, there's not a ton of divergences popping up. So that is something, that's not a great sign at this point. Like it's really just, paying attention to the price action, right? If you start reclaiming this 2-year key level here, we've got a new weekly pivot, right? That's basically untapped at the moment. Up here at about 40,300. This would be an area that if you start to see the price coming back over, closing above here, then we all things that are leading us back towards some upside continuation here. Not only that, every single person I think is literally in the case or in the camp of dropping back to 30K. I don't know personally though. I haven't really scaled through the sentiment, but that's the general gist that I've seen here and there. The other thing though that would be something to consider is if we do come down and take that 37.7 for a brief period, right? Like I said, the daily close is important, but that's not to be confused with we couldn't come down here and sit there for 12 hours, really make everybody pile in on getting short on the market, basically right at the low, and then we rip up from there. So those are the levels to watch, basically that I'd be looking for. It's very simple. We're very close to all of them at this point, right? We already came down to the range low. Say you come down to that 37.7, that's another 5 or 6% drawdown. Obviously, that's going to have an effect on the altcoin market as well. So take that for what it's worth in your strategy also. And from here, essentially, we're looking to reclaim this 2-year key level once again for like the 100th time in the last 4 months. From there, we got this weekly pivot, which is going to come into play next. We got our point of control. We did come up on our last run up here, right? We had our range low, and essentially our point of control was our main target here, right? Took that out. Why did we turn around up here, right? This was an area that we had left on the way down as well. This was a NPOC, which we were expecting to see a decent pullback from. Not necessarily all the way back down to the range low, but here we are, right? So you had this NPOC right here at 42,700, give or take. You got the run up, wick above, and basically everybody piled in with longs at this point, right? Assuming that the market was going to continue higher, just kind of completely ran back down to the range low. So at the moment, looking, to reclaim this area right here, we are coming into major, it's pretty major resistance at the moment as well, too. So something to consider, right? That's 2 years average of price for Bitcoin right above us. Do tackle on that. You got a weekly pivot, point of control. I'm saying the same things like 10 times in a row, but just want to hammer this idea home. This is the same range we've been going through for literally almost 5 months. So do know that when this range finally breaks, it's probably going to have a massive, massive move. So whether it is up or down, so it is something to be paying attention for. If you're in the group, we have some massive times coming up as far as fib times around the middle of next month. So it'll be an interesting time to see how this plays out here. We do have one untapped pivot that's got our interest as well up here in this region, right, from about 2 weeks ago now at this point. It's about 43,700, comes in near these highs as well. So something we'll be paying attention to around here, just about that range high. And realistically, going back to the idea here, this is now, I'm giving that bullish scenario here. Because the bearish one is pretty cut and dry, right? If you lose 37,700, we're probably going back down to 32, right? At least to start it off. Then you got, from there you reevaluate and go from there. And that's pretty much that's all that I could say about that, right? That's pretty much all we can look for. And obviously that would be a pretty big hit across the board. Now, as far as the upside does go, right? Like just picture this whole little schematic here once again with that bear flag. It's that weekly pivot, turn that off, and we'll turn this off. So going back to, or not going back to, but just talking on, what is the area to really be looking for to get bullish, right? Like, this is one of those situations where if we start running it up from here, I think everybody's really, really wrapped up in this bear flag. And in that case, I think that if anybody's on the sidelines or ends up on the sidelines or whatever, and like I said, there's a couple ways to draw this out, I have to imagine, because if you're going to include the wicks, well, then we're basically just coming right down to support as it is anyways. But depends on how everybody wants to look at it, I guess. Once again, this is why I think that the range data is a little bit better as far as nailing a little bit more. What's the word? A little bit more precision, I guess you could say, and having an idea. But I guarantee you that now looking at this, this is going to look like we got that bounce from here. Well, where is everybody going to get really bullish at, in my opinion? And I'm just sort of throwing a random idea out here. As if we start climbing up this ladder again, right? You got that range high comes in right here. Realistically, we clear that range high again on a daily closing basis. And I mean, we're in good shape. We got a couple levels in the meantime till you get up there. And you got your invalidation point and your levels to look for as far as dropping back down towards the lows. But if we start clearing this range high, that's a pretty good spot to be, looking forward to more upside. The problem I think will be is that most will be looking for this, right, coming up and seeing the rejection off of this area. Well, what it really resides up here, which I would imagine we probably would get a decent little pullback here. Nothing crazy. I shouldn't say nothing crazy because you never know. But this is the next range above us. This is the point of control. Basically comes in right here about $49,000. Range high is just about a little bit higher than that, about 50, 52. And we probably, we may see a pullback around that area if this, condition, occurs essentially. Just painting that out, right? That this is probably where everybody might start piling back in. And then essentially you might get just a normal pullback, even back down towards the range. You really want to see that yearly key level held as support right here, about 47.7. And that's, going to break that mental barrier if this all comes out. Probably getting a little ahead of ourselves on, going to pull that back a bit. But regardless, I think that everybody's looking at this bear flag, which totally fine, right? If that's the case. One thing about it is that, you could look at it in multiple ways. And even this way right here is going to look like we broke it and possibly having a little bearish retest at the moment and could fall lower. And you can fall lower. And that's the thing, right? This levels to watch. You break that range low, and 37.7 is that last line of defense between that and about 32K. All right, let's see here. Right, coming back down and take out this range low, close below it as well. Then we're probably gonna have some more downside ahead of us. But that to me would be, this is the level anyways that we've been looking at. So granted, now this pattern is kind of formed out in between. It's still 100% the area that we've been just ranging among for the last couple months here. So just want to throw that little idea out there once again. Take it for what it's worth in your strategy. But yeah, right now getting a little bounce here from it. Actually a decent bounce up to 40,200 almost, which is actually quite nice. Like I said, that weekly pivot is just above us, so that'd be the next little major spot to see how the reaction occurs here. This very well could be a back test, come up, tag that weekly pivot, and continue lower. So definitely an area of interest. Like I said, this would actually coincide with that bear flag and get everybody a little bearish to see a possible bearish retest, come back down a little bit. Regardless, flipping that weekly pivot would be a good shot at looking up towards that point of control right above us at about 42,000. Not really going to go through, too many targets above the range at this moment because, like I said, we're pretty much still just range bound. So obviously, it's a little bit more, possible that we're going to head lower. It's tough when every single person is calling for lower to kind of be only geared that one way. And for me, it would be the 37,700 area that anyways, we could come down to that. That's the level we've been monitoring for such a time frame anyways. So at that point, I think that everybody may, if we make it down to that point, I think that's where everybody may end up piling in on their shorts, and then you run into a nice condition for a short squeeze, something of that nature. But for now, this is still the range we've been traveling within. Looking to take out this weekly pivot and hold it, at least on a 4-hour basis. You got your point of control up here next, range high. I mean, these are still the major targets in play in the short term. Losing this range low, and then we're looking at this $37,700 level here. Losing that, and then we're going back down to the lows. So very, just a very crucial time frame for Bitcoin here. I'm gonna take a look at some altcoins real quick. So ETH, hope this chart's not too busy for everybody here on TikTok. But ETH, we ran it up, had that bearish divergence print, took it down. This was one of our weekly pivot targets that we were looking for here. Ran it back up, got the April open at the time, rejection from there, double top, came back down, re-entered this range on a closing basis, very similar to how Bitcoin did. From there, our next major target was the 2-year key level. And then if we lose this here conclusively, then we'd be looking back down towards our point of control. obviously that would imply Bitcoin taking a pretty decent hit as well. So far, everything seems to be having a nice little bounce. We were in bounce territory just after that, days and days of pullback there. So right now for ETH, running into a 3-month level right ahead of us. So it does have a bit of resistance above us. Range high and this yearly key level, still the two that get above and hold above here. If we clear those, close above this April open and weekly pivot. This is an untapped weekly pivot, the same weekly pivot that is on Bitcoin at 43.7. So if we do make it up to this level for ETH, I would imagine Bitcoin's probably around that same level. So really want to see the reaction around that area if we do get back above and head up. Otherwise, really looking for this 2-year key level to hold. Point of control would be the next major support, and then ultimately you got the range low coming back in. So that'd be literally the same same levels here for ETH2 that we've been watching for that we've just been cycling through, just running through time and time again. So nice little catch here. Obviously, we had another candle drop back down below. This is on a 4-hour time frame, so hadn't closed only but 1 or 2 there, and then we're pumping back up above. So watch the reaction off of there. We'll get plenty of updates out in the group as we go. HBAR was, has been one that I just want to touch on because I know there's one guy in the group. I just, he's always always loving his HBAR. It's a love-hate relationship, I think, for him. But we had this, with everything else, we, basically rotated the range from the high when Bitcoin dropped from 48K, lost our range high, basically back tested it. And from here, this is a time frame where it's depending on what you're doing. Like if you're going to be DCAing into a longer term position, obviously these are areas where you would want to maybe consider DCAing into as far as short term trading would go. And that doesn't mean day trade. That doesn't have to mean a week or whatever. If you're looking for this range to basically be rotated once again to the high, the safer bet would be to look for this daily reclaim inside the range, which is about 20 cents. I'd really say 20 cents. It's 19.8. We have not gotten that, right? So even on a daily time frame here. Ooh. Oh man, struggling here. Pulling it over for TikTok here. So yeah, we lost this this range on a daily time frame. All right, so these are daily candles now. Right, we had this drop down here, barely closed in, and then it's just Wick City, and then drop down since then. So at this point, you really, for confirmation, you want to see a daily close back in here. Really, even better, a retest of the range low, and then from there, you'd be looking up at your point of control, yada yada yada, upwards of your range high, your 2-year key level. Now, as far as downside would go, right, because we do have to start anticipating that if Bitcoin does pull it down a little bit more, I would be looking at these 2 levels right below us, right? So this 16.6 cents comes in as the Q3 of last year, Q3 low of last year. So that's a major area of support coming in, right about 16.6. And then like a worst case in the short term here would be this back down about 13 cents. Now that would be a pretty drastic drawdown, even from where we are, right? Another 30% move to the downside. So you would have to imagine that's on the case that Bitcoin does, move lower towards that 37,000 and below area. So that's where I'd be looking for HBAR. A lot of the other coins will all be coming into this, similar supports around that region. But as far as, we're kind of diddling in the middle, so to speak, right now. So if you're in at a short off the retest of the range low, obviously, you're in profits there and probably want to look for these lower levels here. Otherwise, to look for, to get in on a shorter term trade, I'd be looking to reclaim this range low. DCA wise, if you're looking to kind of stack it on the way down, then, take that for what it's worth too. So what was that? ETH, HBAR, MATIC. All right, MATIC. At the moment, possibly having a similar situation to HBAR, right? So MATIC got listed on Robinhood, basically right here when it dropped down to the range low just recently, or maybe it was even this one right here. I think this was the Robinhood pump, right? Everybody's looking at it. It was like whopping 8%. And so far, it's just been really just, struggling at the low here. So we did lose it here on a 4-hour time frame. And you got a possible bearish retest here, right? So you really do think this would be exactly what you want to look for out of HBARs, that you want to see this range low coming in at about 133 reclaimed, and essentially you'd want to see at least some 4-hour candles closing back in here. A daily candle would be, ideal. And once again, the market closes at 8 p.m. daily, 8 p.m. Eastern every day. And so that's when you can anybody can flip open a TradingView app. It's free, and check some of these things out in that aspect. But that would be what I'd be looking for here. Otherwise, you do run a little bit of a risk of this kind of turning into a bearish retest and continuing lower. Once again, paying attention to Bitcoin at the same time. That would imply that Bitcoin's taking a drawdown as well, more than likely. Reclaim this range low, and we look up towards this point of control. Got a monthly open up here, yearly key level. It's pretty decent range size here for MATIC. I think it's 50%, yeah, from low to high. So I mean that's a pretty decent range there with some interim targets in the meantime. But all on the conclusive reclaim of this range low here. So. And the only other one I want to touch on real quick is Cardano. Cardano was one of our areas we were looking at, around the time frame when Bitcoin was coming into the major resistance around 47, 48K. This is one of those other ones with Cardano. You had Chainlink, you had Ethereum. Pretty much all the major large caps were coming into either macro high time frame range highs or major resistances as well. Lower high put in place right here, indicative that we were going to come back down. Targeting the point of control at the time, and then this quarterly key level and weekly would have been that next one. Ultimately, your range low is going to be that next target here, and we have effectively rotated the entire range for Cardano once again as well. So this was one we were looking at last night. We were actually up here at the time, and early this morning I got the alert stating we got down right to that 82 cents. So losing this range low, obviously once again, this is paying attention to Bitcoin time, because Bitcoin drops, everything's going to drop anyway. So it is a time when you want to, when it's more probable that we go up, obviously, in the sense of because you are at support. So you can't look at support and just assume you're going to just break through it and go lower and just start shorting and all this and all that. So you have to look at it like that, unless you start breaking below and coming back for those, those bearish retests similar to MATIC. However, you get situations like this, right, where you get that breakdown, you come back, and then you finally actually break above, get that retest, and then continue on from there. So once again, anybody that's like trying to scramble right now, if you're looking to, try to sell because you think that, Bitcoin's going to go down to 36K or 30K, obviously everything is always up to you. But those time frames of de-risking was obviously up here at the range high region. Always easier said than done looking back. But even then, you had this point of control. Once we gave up that point of control, back tested it and lost it, that was a pretty big, indicator that we were going to be heading down. And essentially, between range low to range high, this point of control is your natural target. So once you SR flip that, essentially your next major area is going to be the range high if you're going up, or if you're flipping it to the downside, your range low would be that next area. So obviously this would have took some patience all the way to get down here, because this did take about a week, maybe 2 weeks. Okay, so 2 weeks just from the flipping the quarterly key level. I'm sorry, up here, from flipping the point of control to get all the way back down to this range low. And all in all, from this move here, this has been about a 3-week drawdown, but very similar to how when we reclaimed the range low previously, this was on the 18th of March, and then towards the high. About 10 days towards the day when we actually started dropping, about 2 weeks as well. So kind of ebb and flow in these 2-week scenarios. So pretty much my spiel for the day, right? Like, so we really got to pay attention to Bitcoin. Got some levels identified for, pretty much either scenario here. Still pretty much just range bound for, for Bitcoin in this range that we've been in for quite some time now. And right now, it looks like we're getting a little bit of a rejection off that weekly pivot, right, that we were talking about. So, just be mindful that this is probably the next area you want to really, overtake, is this 40,300 in the short term here. We do have the 2-year key level probably holding us down at the moment too, which is right where we are now. So yeah, this little area right here would be pretty nice to see a break above and hold above here. Otherwise, coming back down to the range low is on the table, and the more time we spend around here, you do open up the box to drop down into that 37.7. So that's pretty much it. Hope you all enjoyed this brief update. Still managed to be about 30 minutes on the spot, so that's perfect. This video will be on YouTube for anybody that missed it and wants to go back and watch it in full, see the whole screen, things of that nature. For anybody that's interested, tonight in the Leading Crypto Discord, we will be having an order flow and open interest classroom held by our order flow and open interest specialist, Max. So if you're interested in learning on how to identify these ranges, points of control, key levels, utilizing order flow and open interest, do consider joining. The link is in my description and YouTube, my homepage here on TikTok. You will get all my updates on all the altcoins setups I put out. Magic Internet Money, the other analyst and trader in the group, he puts out his Bitcoin analysis, which is superb. It's the best Bitcoin analysis you're going to see. So you got live recordings. We do 2 member-only market updates twice a week. One's on Wednesday nights, one's on Sunday nights, 9:30 p.m. So we did one last night. So you can go ahead and watch our last night's update on here. It gives a little bit of an overview on what to expect in the coming days and weeks. And just a ton of other, alternative channels in here for our members to post through. We have tons of active traders constantly posting other charts in here and things of that nature. So for anybody that's interested, like I said, we will have an order flow and open interest classroom tonight, 9:30 or 10 p.m. Eastern. I can't remember. But hope to see you there. Hope you all have a great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Until next time, everybody, cheers.